Rusty Stevens, Larry Mondello, reveals why he left Leave It to Beaver. Rusty Stevens was born Robert Rusty Stevens on November 25, 1948, in Boston, Massachusetts, is an American actor best known for his role as Larry Mondello on the iconic television series Leave It to Beaver. He entered the entertainment world at a young age, making his first appearance on television when he was just 8 years old. Growing up in an era when child actors were becoming popular in family-centric television programs, Stevens quickly showed promise with his natural talent for comedy and his ability to connect with audiences. His youthful charm and the mischievous glint in his eye made him an ideal fit for the character of Larry Mondello, who was known as the well-meaning but slightly troublesome friend of Theodore Beaver Cleaver on the show. Stevens grew up in a middle-class family and lived a relatively normal childhood, balancing his budding acting career with school and play. Unlike many other child actors of the time, Stevens was raised in a supportive environment, which allowed him to enjoy the spotlight without being consumed by it. His parents were dedicated to maintaining a semblance of normalcy in his life, ensuring that while he pursued his passion for acting, he would still have a stable home life. Rusty Stevens' big break came in 1957 when he was cast as Larry Mondello on Leave It to Beaver. The show, which depicted the everyday life of a middle-class American family, was an instant success. Stevens' character Larry was introduced as one of Beaver's closest friends, often dragging him into humorous situations that resonated with both kids and parents alike. Larry was the perfect foil to Beaver's more cautious nature, and the two formed a memorable on-screen friendship. Their comedic misadventures were relatable to young viewers and gave the show a sense of lightheartedness amidst its lessons on family values. Larry Mondello became one of the most beloved supporting characters on the show. Although Stevens wasn't part of the main cast, his presence was impactful, and many of the series' most famous episodes featured him in some capacity. Stevens portrayed Larry with a mix of innocence and mischief, creating a character who was likable despite his tendency to get into trouble. His scenes with Beaver often centered around childhood dilemmas, such as trying to avoid homework, sneak treats, or get out of chores, which made him a fan favorite. Larry's exaggerated tales and bad ideas were often a source of laughter, but they also demonstrated the strong friendship that was central to the show's appeal. Rusty Stevens, who played the lovable and mischievous Larry Mondello on the iconic television show Leave It to Beaver, has often been a subject of curiosity for fans of the show. While the show's main cast members like Jerry Mathers, Beaver Cleaver, and Tony Dow, Wally Cleaver, became household names, Stevens' character, Larry, was one of the most memorable sidekicks in the series. Fans were left wondering about Stevens' sudden departure from the show during its run, with the character of Larry Mondello being written out after the first 2 seasons. In interviews over the years, Stevens has shed light on his decision to leave the show and the reasons behind it, providing valuable insight into both his career and personal life during that period. Stevens was cast as Larry Mondello, Beaver's mischievous but endearing friend, early in the show's run. His character was frequently featured in episodes where he and Beaver would find themselves in various predicaments, from getting caught sneaking into places they shouldn't be, to trying to outwit their parents. Larry brought an element of youthful rebellion to the otherwise wholesome and structured world of the Cleavers. However, his time on Leave It to Beaver was relatively short-lived. The primary reason Stevens decided to Leave It to Beaver was his personal desire to pursue a different path in life. In a rare interview, he admitted that, at a young age, he was already beginning to lose interest in acting. His passion for the craft began to wane as he got older, and the grueling schedules of working on a successful TV show began to feel more like a chore. Rusty was just a teenager at the time, and he recognized that his priorities were starting to shift. Rather than being content with the stability of the role, he felt a strong pull to explore other interests that were not related to acting. Stevens was also impacted by the nature of Hollywood at the time. As a young actor, he was exposed to the pressures and expectations that came with being on a popular TV show. There was a great deal of pressure to maintain a particular image and to continue delivering performances that aligned with the show's wholesome family values. For someone as young as Stevens, this environment could become overwhelming. The desire for more freedom and the absence of typical childhood experiences, such as going to school and having a more conventional upbringing, contributed to his decision to step away from the role of Larry Mondello. The decision to Leave It to Beaver had a significant impact on Stevens' career. While it might have been seen as a bold move to leave a successful show at such a young age, it allowed him to explore other areas of his life. After leaving the show, Stevens did not immediately pursue other acting roles. Instead, he focused on his education and went on to lead a more private life, far removed from the Hollywood spotlight. Stevens also mentioned that his departure was influenced by the tight-knit nature of the Leave It to Beaver cast. While he had positive relationships with the main cast members, he sometimes felt like an outsider, as the characters were all centered around the Cleaver family dynamic. Although the show's producers tried to keep his character in the mix, Stevens felt that Larry Mondello's role was becoming less central to the plot as time went on, and as the show progressed, it was increasingly focused on the Cleaver family. This shift in storyline priorities may have made his role feel less integral to the show, prompting Stevens to rethink his position on the show. After Stevens left the show, the character of Larry Mondello was written out, and the role of Beaver's friend was eventually recast. In subsequent seasons, other child actors would fill in the role, but none managed to capture the same chemistry that Stevens had with Jerry Mathers. While Larry Mondello was an important character in the early seasons, his absence left a noticeable gap in the show. His mischievous energy was replaced by more conventional storylines, and the Cleaver family became even more of the central focus. Stevens' departure did not cause any ill will between him and the Leave It to Beaver cast or producers, and the show continued to be successful after his exit. In fact, Stevens has expressed in interviews that he has no regrets about leaving the show. He remained friends with his former co-stars and often reflects on his time as Larry Mondello with fondness. After leaving Leave It to Beaver, Rusty Stevens largely faded from the public eye. He chose to live a more private life, eventually moving away from acting altogether. In later years, Stevens would occasionally make appearances at Leave It to Beaver reunions and conventions, where he would reminisce about his time on the show. These events offered fans a chance to meet one of the most beloved child actors from the golden age of television and hear first-hand accounts of his experiences on set. In the years following his departure from Hollywood, Stevens built a successful career outside of the entertainment industry. He remained largely out of the spotlight, choosing to focus on other aspects of his life and family. Despite his brief time on Leave It to Beaver, his portrayal of Larry Mondello remains a defining part of his early career, and fans still remember him fondly for his contributions to the show. Stevens' decision to Leave It to Beaver was undoubtedly a life-changing moment, but it was one that allowed him to explore new opportunities and experiences outside the world of television. In interviews and appearances, he has expressed his satisfaction with the decision and has never seemed to harbor any regrets about leaving the show. Today, his story remains an important part of Leave It to Beaver's legacy, a reminder that sometimes stepping away from the limelight can lead to a more fulfilling life.